I paid $6,400 to help my cousin move abroad. Then I got a text. "You're not invited to her farewell dinner." Her mum followed up with, "It's more of a family thing." My mum asked me, "Why are you making this awkward?" So I didn't argue. I paused the money transfer and changed my status on the lease. It was 10:56 p.m. when I did it. Then I got a voice note from my aunt. I played it twice, just to be sure I heard what I thought I heard. "Please stay with me as I tell you my story. And please don't forget to support our channel by subscribing, liking, and sharing with your loved ones. I'm not someone who acts out. I don't throw scenes or call people out, but I remember everything. Lily, my cousin, has always had big ideas. She talks in dreams, not detail, and I've always been the one to fill in the gaps, quietly, fully, without asking for anything back. Her move to Berlin was no different. She told me about the program, the deadlines, the paperwork, and I took care of it all. Flights, visa, apartment, rent. I handled it, not as a favor, but because I thought that's what family did. She called me her favorite cousin. I thought I was. Until that message. Until the part where I wasn't even invited to say goodbye. It wasn't a big announcement, just a text. Just a brush off wrapped in emojis. At first, I thought I misread it. Then I saw it clearly. More of a family thing. Like I wasn't part of it. Like I didn't matter. I didn't reply. I didn't ask why. I didn't cry. I just sat still. Then I made a quiet decision. I wasn't going to keep giving where I wasn't seen. That night, I made changes. Small ones at first. But those changes shifted everything. There's more. A lot more. What happened next wasn't revenge. It was something colder. More final. Keep listening. You'll understand why I didn't stop with just freezing the money. I once stood at Lily's graduation in heels that hurt, and a dress I barely had time to iron. I paid for the caterer, booked the photographer, even picked out the flowers because she said she wanted something elegant. That day they didn't save me a seat. Not in the front, not even in the back. I stood behind the last row, wedged between a folding table and the speakers, holding a plate I'd paid for. No one noticed. There was Christmas the year after. I drove 5 hours through a snowstorm because I'd already bought the gifts. Handmade ones. I wrapped them with care, labeled each one with gold tags. When I got there, I was told, "We're already squeezed at the main table." I ate on a stool in the den with a paper plate in my lap. No one checked in on me. Lily opened my gift and moved on without a word. It kept happening. My aunt's birthday? I covered the open bar. Her friends toasted to family, to those who always show up. And I sat there invisible, hearing my name left out like it never existed. I smiled, nodded, swallowed it all. After a while, I stopped asking why, but I didn't forget. I started keeping track, not because I wanted to collect favors, but because I needed to remember the truth. I opened a spreadsheet one night, tired of the hazy feeling in my chest that came every time they forgot. I typed in everything, every flight booked, every card used, every delivery I paid for, every yes I gave when I wanted to say no. There were rows and rows, receipts I'd never looked back on until now, and in those numbers, I saw it clearly. I had been useful, convenient, but never seen, never invited. They didn't thank me, they didn't mean harm, but they erased me anyway, not loudly, just through silence. It wasn't about the farewell dinner, not really. It was the last thread, the one that snapped, because it had been pulled too tight for too long. I didn't feel angry, I felt something worse. Nothing. A hollow space where my patience used to be. I stared at that spreadsheet and realized I wasn't anyone to them. I was just a solution, a shortcut, a credit card with legs. So I made a choice. No more quiet grace, no more waiting to be seen. They'd taken so much, and I'd let them. But now, I was done being the background. This wasn't about money anymore. It was about finally closing the door they kept pretending I didn't stand behind. And once I started, I didn't stop. The first thing I did was log into the cloud storage account I'd set up months ago. It held every important document Lily needed for her move. Passport scans, embassy letters, university paperwork, all of it under my paid plan, my admin access. She never once asked how it was working, never offered to take it over. I paused her access. Not deleted, not gone, just unreachable. She wouldn't notice right away, maybe not for days. But when she needed something urgent, she'd hit a wall. Next was the Dropbox folder. That one held her entire art portfolio, the one she submitted to her scholarship committee, the one I helped format, organize, and label when she said she didn't do digital stuff. I was the backup, the system behind her success. I opened the folder, selected her email, and revoked her access. A simple click, no sound, no drama, just a lock sliding into place. She'd probably think it was a glitch. She might even message me for help. That thought made me smile, not with joy, but with something sharper. Then came the Adobe account. For 2 years, she'd used my business plan. I'd let her have a seat, thinking it was a temporary thing. But temporary turned into routine, and routine turned into expectation. I logged in, deactivated her seat, one click. Just like that, her design software was gone. I pictured her opening it and seeing the error message, trying to refresh, growing frustrated. I didn't feel bad, not anymore. After that, I called the credit card company. The travel card I set up for emergencies. It had been used for everything but food deliveries, Ubers, a random hotel stay in Amsterdam. She once called it a lifesaver. I had seen the charges and never said a word, until now. I removed her as a supplementary user, effective immediately, no balance left behind, no explanation given, just a quiet door closed. Each action I took felt calm. Not one of them was fueled by hate or revenge. It wasn't about getting even. It was about stepping out of a role I never applied for. I had become infrastructure, invisible support, a walking help desk with a heart. And that line I once read kept coming back to me. If you're not paying for the product, you are the product. That was me. I had been the product for years. Now, I was ending the subscription. The first voice note came at 7:12 a.m. Aunt Claire, calm but clearly rehearsed, said, "Sweetheart, I don't know what's gotten into you. This is petty. You're being childish. Lily is devastated." I played it twice, not because I didn't understand it the first time, but because I wanted to hear what wasn't there. There was no mention of what I'd done to help, no question about why I'd stopped, just concern for Lily's feelings and a scolding tone, like I was acting out for no reason. Then the text started. My mum, Lily, a few of Claire's friends, all with the same message in different fonts. "This isn't like you. We're all shocked you'd behave this way. Just talk to her, be the bigger person." I didn't reply, not because I couldn't defend myself, but because I no longer needed to. Their version of me was someone who kept quiet, who made peace, who never asked for credit. They didn't know what to do now that I'd gone still. Lily sent a long message around noon. She said she was confused and hurt, and didn't understand why I was sabotaging her future. She wrote it like a victim, with soft words and careful phrasing, as if she was the one being attacked. Not once did she ask if I was okay. Not once did she mention the help I'd given. It was all about what she was losing. So while the calls rang and the messages piled up, I opened my laptop. I wasn't going to argue with anyone. I wasn't going to explain or justify. I was just going to prepare. I searched for her name in my inbox and started collecting. Every transfer confirmation, every document I edited, every purchase tied to her move, every digital trail of my support. I didn't do it to threaten or expose. I did it to remind myself this happened, to put it all in one place where the facts didn't bend under emotion. I saved the files, labeled them by date, and watched them stack up. Not stories, not opinions, just proof, cold, clear, undeniable. And something shifted in me. For the first time, I didn't care if they thought I was cruel or selfish. Their approval had come at the cost of my presence for too long. I had spent years shaping myself into what they needed. Helpful, reliable, quiet. Now I wasn't trying to be understood. I was just being honest with myself. They could call it petty. They could call it betrayal. I wasn't listening anymore. The first sign of panic came through a text from Lily. "Hey, my lease doc says it's been changed. Did you touch it?" No greeting, no check-in, just straight to the problem. I read it and put my phone face down on the table. Minutes later, another ping, this time from Claire. "We're having issues with Lily's university login. Can you fix it? Fix it." Like I was still part of their tech support team. No, please. No, thank you. Just expectations. As if nothing had changed. Then came the card issues. I'd already removed her from the travel account, but I knew the moment she tried to book something or buy dinner, it would bounce. There were no emergency messages, no desperate apologies, just more instructions disguised as concern. "Claire again. This is childish. We're not sure what's going on, but Lily is very upset. Can you just restore access until she's settled?" They were scrambling. I could hear it in the way their words lost polish. Their messages were shorter now, sharp-edged, less composed. But still, no one said sorry. No one acknowledged what I'd given or asked what I needed. They were focused only on what was no longer available, their comfort, their systems, their convenience. I stayed quiet. Watching it unfold wasn't satisfying in the way I thought it might be. It wasn't fun or victorious. It was strange, like watching someone try to open a door that used to be unlocked and realizing they never once thought about the person holding the key. That person was me, and now I'd walked away. The Dropbox errors, the Cloud Doc failures, the cancelled subscriptions, each one was a reminder. They didn't see me as family. I was a function, a password, a bank account that smiled at holidays. All the years I'd shown up, helped out, made it easy, they never saw the cost. Not in dollars, not in time, not in me. I wasn't angry. I didn't wish them harm, but I also didn't want to be erased anymore. I'd let them treat my presence like a guarantee. I had mistaken their need for affection, and now that the access was gone, all that remained was noise. A flurry of confused messages, missed calls, frantic requests. Meanwhile, I made coffee. I answered emails. I sat in the stillness they had never learned to face. They were unraveling, and I was fine, because for the first time in years, I wasn't holding everything together, and nothing inside me was falling apart. It started with a group chat explosion. Cousins I hadn't heard from in months suddenly had a lot to say. "What's going on with you? Lily's heartbroken. You used to be so kind." Messages came in waves, some pretending to be concerned, others outright accusing me of cruelty. One said, "You're better than this." Another called me a traitor. No one asked what led to this. No one asked what I was feeling. They only cared about restoring what they'd lost. Access. Then came the email, formal, filled with vague legal language. It was from a lawyer representing Lily, or so they claimed. "Your actions have resulted in emotional distress and potential academic interruption. We request immediate reinstatement of all revoked privileges to avoid further legal escalation." There it was. The threat, thinly wrapped in concern. It didn't scare me. It confirmed what I'd suspected all along. This was never about me as a person. It was about the benefits of having me around. Later that evening, a call from an unknown number. I let it ring. Voicemail followed. A voice I didn't recognize introduced himself as someone conducting a private inquiry on behalf of a concerned family member. The words were polite, but the meaning was clear. They were digging, trying to figure out how to push me back into place, trying to make silence look suspicious. I didn't reply. I didn't pick up. I didn't defend myself in the chat. My silence wasn't weakness. It was a decision. It was the first time I wasn't rushing to explain, to fix, to smooth things over. I let the accusations pile up without lifting a finger. They wanted noise. I gave them nothing. In that quiet, I saw it for what it was. Every kind thing I'd done was now being used as a weapon. "You helped her before. You were always there. You never complained." As if my history of giving meant I had no right to stop. As if being dependable meant being permanent. They framed my refusal to keep giving as an act of betrayal, because they'd mistaken my boundaries for a flaw. But I saw clearly now. My help had been treated like a service. My generosity twisted into a binding contract I never signed. And now that I had stepped back, they couldn't handle the absence. Not because they missed me, but because they missed what I provided. And so I stayed silent, not to be cruel, not to punish, but because silence was the only language they couldn't twist. I didn't plan to say anything. I thought keeping things private would be cleaner, simpler. But as the pressure built, texts, emails, voicemails, lawyers, I realized staying silent was no longer safe. They were building their own version of the story, layering it with emotion, leaving out every fact that mattered. If I didn't speak, they would replace the truth with their version, and people would believe it. So I sat down at my laptop, no anger in my chest, just calm. I opened the folder where I'd been saving everything, the receipts, the transfer confirmations, the timestamps, the screenshots. I didn't edit them. I didn't add commentary. I just lined them up. Berlin apartment deposit, $3,200, paid directly to the landlord, one-way flight receipt, billed to my card, Adobe seat under my business license, Dropbox logs showing the moment I removed her access, the text from Claire, dated and time-stamped. It's more of a family thing. I didn't post them with a dramatic caption. I didn't tell my side. I simply wrote, "For transparency, I funded my cousin's relocation, flights, visa fees, housing, and essential setup, totaling $6,400. I was excluded from her farewell dinner by a message that said, 'It's more of a family thing.' In response, I ended my support. This post is for clarity, not conflict. Then I attached the screenshots. Simple captions, dates, amounts, that's it. I closed the app and walked away. An hour later, I opened it again. Quiet likes, shares, comments from people I hadn't spoken to in years. I always wondered why they treated you like that. You weren't invisible. You were erased. This makes so much sense now. No anger, just recognition. Confirmation that what I felt wasn't in my head. I didn't respond to anyone. I didn't answer the texts that came flying in, or the calls I watched light up my screen. I just let the facts sit there. It wasn't about revenge. It wasn't even about justice. It was about putting something real into a space that had been flooded with assumptions and misdirection. No one in the family responded right away. Not publicly, not directly, but I saw when they viewed it. I saw the silence that followed. No angry comments, no denials, just quiet. And for once, the quiet wasn't mine to carry. It belonged to them. This wasn't a fight. It was a record. And now that it was visible, there was nothing left to argue. The first sign came through a forwarded email. Someone from Lily's scholarship committee had reached out. They were reviewing her third-party sponsorship documentation due to unverified changes in financial support. It was formal, almost clinical. I didn't respond, of course. I wasn't part of that system anymore. I wasn't listed on anything officially, just behind the scenes, the one who made it all work, until I stopped. Then the messages started to dry up. The frantic energy in the group chat slowed. No more demands. No more guilt-laced reminders of what I had once done for them. Just silence. I watched the chat bubble stay still for the first time in days. The ones who had called me cruel, selfish, ungrateful, had nothing left to say when the truth didn't budge. No explanation could compete with evidence. No emotional plea could outweigh facts. I let the calls go unanswered, let the voicemails pile up unheard. There was nothing in them I hadn't already read in their texts. No apology, just attempts to pull me back in. The silence that followed was different from the one I had known before. It wasn't the absence of acknowledgement. It was the collapse of a system that had depended on me staying quiet. Then my phone lit up with a name I didn't expect. My uncle. We weren't close. He usually stayed out of things, but the message was short, and it stuck with me. You did what silence never could. I read it twice, not because I didn't understand it, but because it was the first time someone named it for what it was. A decision, not spite, not drama, just a refusal to be erased again. I didn't reply, not because I didn't appreciate it, but because even kind words felt like another door I wasn't ready to open. I wasn't looking for praise. I wasn't hoping for validation. But that single message landed differently. It felt like an acknowledgement of the years I'd swallowed things whole just to keep the peace. And now, without me playing my part, the entire dynamic was shifting. They didn't know how to function without the version of me who absorbed the chaos, who fixed things before they fell apart, who made excuses for their behavior and labeled it grace. That version was gone. There were no more strategies left for them. The guilt had stopped working. The accusations had lost their edge. The story had changed. And not because I'd spoken loudly, but because I had finally, clearly chosen not to be part of it anymore. She messaged me the day before her flight. Can we talk before I go? Not, I'm sorry, or can we fix this? Just a polite invitation, like nothing had happened. I waited before answering, not to punish her, but because I needed to be sure I was answering for the right reasons. I wasn't curious. I wasn't holding on to hope. I just wanted to close it all cleanly. I said yes. We met at a small cafe downtown, neutral ground. She picked the place. I showed up on time, walked in, saw her already sitting near the window, a half-packed suitcase leaning against her chair. She didn't get up when she saw me, just looked up and offered a small, hesitant smile. Her face didn't hold anger. It didn't hold guilt either, just discomfort, like someone about to deliver bad news gently. She started talking quickly, said she didn't mean for things to go so far, that everyone assumed I was okay with everything, because I'd never said otherwise, that she thought helping me made me happy. She said it like a script, polished, software, like her goal was to smooth over a wrinkle, not acknowledge a tear. I didn't interrupt. I let her finish. I listened without reacting, the same way I used to when she needed help figuring out visa forms or formatting a resume. But this time, I wasn't there to solve anything. When she stopped, I didn't match her tone. I didn't try to soothe her discomfort. I just said calmly, I didn't walk away because of money. I walked away because you never saw me. She blinked, maybe expecting more. I didn't offer it. I told her I'd been helping her for years. and she never looked up long enough to ask if I needed anything. She saw the help, but never the person behind it. And when I stopped helping, it was treated like a betrayal, not a boundary. That was the difference. She looked down at her coffee, didn't argue, didn't cry. She just sat there, smaller than I remembered her. Not broken, just aware, as if something had finally registered, too late to change it. "So what now?" she asked. I nodded once. "We're done." That was it. No big ending, no dramatic exit. I stood, pushed in my chair, and said, "Have a good trip." Then I walked out. I didn't look back. There was nothing left there for me. It wasn't about punishment. It wasn't about a lesson. The days that followed were still. No more calls, no more messages. Not from Lily, not from Claire, not from anyone else. The group chat stayed quiet. Even the guilt, the kind they used to pour over me like syrup, was gone. For once, I wasn't being pulled back in. I didn't feel triumphant, just steady, clear. There was no satisfaction in watching them retreat, no thrill in their silence, just peace. A kind I hadn't known in years. I hadn't burned anything down. I'd simply stopped holding it up. I didn't think about what they were saying behind closed doors. I didn't care if they rewrote everything to make themselves the victims. I had no interest in their next version of events. What mattered was mine, the quiet I chose, the space I reclaimed. There were no fireworks, no finish line, just this soft realization. I had stopped being available to people who never made space for me, and that was enough. They no longer had access, not to my systems, not to my love, not to me. Do you think I was right to cut them off? Or should I have given them one last chance to explain? I'd really love to hear your thoughts. Drop them in the comments below. And if you want to hear more real stories like this, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Thanks for being here.